Hello everyone, welcome back to Naruto Fix. Today we have another interesting what if Naruto story. Which is, what if Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura return together with future memories? Part 1. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. Now, without wasting any time, let's begin. The war had already ended. At least, that's how it should have been. The fourth great ninja war was over. Peace had returned. And Naruto Uzumaki finally stood at the peak of everything he had ever dreamed of. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha, the shadow protecting the village. And Sakura Haruno, the strongest medical ninja of her era. They had won. They had survived. They had saved the world. But it didn't last. Because something came after. Something worse than war. A threat beyond everything they had ever faced. Not Madara. Not Kaguya. Something else. Something they couldn't defeat. And in that final moment, standing together, bruised, broken, out of options, Naruto clenched his fist. We can't win like this. Sasuke's Sharingan glowed. Then we change it. Sakura looked at both of them. You mean? Naruto nodded. Yeah. Sasuke stepped forward. We go back. Silence. Because what they were about to do wasn't just dangerous. It was impossible. But they had no choice. Even if it breaks everything, Sakura whispered. Naruto smiled slightly. Then we'll fix it again. Quote. And in that moment, they activated it. A forbidden jutsu. Time shattered. Light consumed everything. And then, darkness. A scream echoed. Naruto's eyes snapped open. Ha! He gasped, looking around wildly. The academy. The same classroom. The same desks. The same sunlight. Number way. He looked at his hands. Small. Young. I'm back. Memories flooded his mind. Everything. The war. The battles. The losses. That final enemy. It worked. Across the room, another pair of eyes widened. Sasuke Uchiha. Naruto. Their eyes met. Silence. Because they both knew. This wasn't coincidence. You remember? Naruto whispered. Sasuke's expression darkened slightly. Everything. Before Naruto could respond, another voice. Naruto. They turned. Sakura Haruno stood there, shaking. Is this real? Naruto smiled slightly. Yeah. Sasuke crossed his arms. We're back. Sakura's eyes filled with tears. Then that means. Naruto nodded slowly. It hasn't happened yet. Silence. Because that realization was everything. The war. The destruction. That final unknown enemy. None of it had happened yet. And that meant they had a chance to change it. Naruto clenched his fist. This time, his eyes sharpened. We do it right. Quote. Sasuke smirked slightly. We won't lose again. Sakura wiped her tears. Number matter what. But none of them noticed. At the far corner of the classroom, a shadow moved. So they returned. Eyes watched them. Interesting. Because changing the past doesn't just affect the future. It creates something new. Something unpredictable. And the moment they came back, the timeline changed. Because now, Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura weren't just kids anymore. They were warriors, with memories of the future. And this time, they wouldn't make the same mistakes. But the question remained, if they changed the past, what would happen to the future? And would that unknown enemy still come? Or something even worse? The classroom noise slowly returned, students talking, laughing, completely unaware that three people sitting among them had already lived an entire lifetime, had fought wars, had watched the world nearly end, and had come back from it. And Naruto Uzumaki sat there quietly, something that had never happened before, his usual loud energy replaced by a deep, focused silence as he processed everything, every memory still fresh, every loss still real, while across from him Sasuke Uchiha kept his head slightly lowered, his eyes sharp. P. Calculating, already analyzing what needed to change, what needed to be avoided, and beside them Sakura Haruno struggled to steady her breathing, her hands slightly trembling as she looked at both of them. This is really happening, she whispered, and Naruto finally let out a small breath. Ye. Ah. We're really back, he said, but his voice carried weight this time. Not excitement, not confusion, but responsibility. And Sasuke glanced at him briefly, then stopped sitting around. He said calmly, "We don't have time to waste." Naruto smirked slightly at that. Still the same, but he stood up anyway, because Sasuke was right. If they had truly come back, then every second mattered, every decision mattered, because this wasn't just about reliving their lives, this was about rewriting them. And before anyone else in the class could question anything, the three of them stepped out together, ignoring the confused looks from their classmates, moving quickly through the academy halls until they reached an empty training field. The moment they stepped outside, the atmosphere changed instantly. No more pretending, no more acting like kids. All right, Naruto said, turning toward THM. His expression serious. First thing, we confirm everything? Sasuke nodded slightly. Timeline, he said, and Sakura quickly added, and differences, because all of them understood. If anything had already changed, even slightly, it could affect everything later. Naruto closed his eyes for a second, thinking. We're before Team 7 formation, he said. Iruka's still alive. No war yet. No Akatsuki movements that we know of. Sasuke continued. Uchiha massacre? He paused slightly, his expression tightening. Has already happened. Sakura looked at him softly for a moment, but didn't say anything, because they all knew some things couldn't be undone anymore. Not from this point. Naruto exhaled slowly. Then we focus forward, he said, and Sasuke nodded, agreed, but then Sakura spoke again, her voice more serious now. What about that last enemy? And that question changed everything instantly, because all three of them remembered it clearly. Not a face, not a clear form, but a presence, something overwhelming, something they couldn't defeat even at their strongest. Naruto's expression darkened slightly. That thing, he muttered, and Sasuke's eyes narrowed. We don't know what it was, he said, but it wasn't part of this timeline originally. Sakura nodded slowly, which means it appeared later, or was triggered. Silence followed, because that meant one terrifying possibility. They might be the reason it appeared in the first place. See. Naruto clenched his fist slightly. Then we stop it before it even starts, he said firmly, but Sasuke shook his head. We don't even know what it is, he replied, and Naruto looked at him. Then we find out, he said without hesitation, and Sakura stepped forward slightly, but we can't rush this, she added. If we change too much too fast, we might make things worse. Naruto sighed lightly. Yeah, I know, but even as he said that, something felt off, something he couldn't explain, like a small shift in the air, a subtle difference in the world itself, and Sasuke noticed it too. His eyes narrowing slightly as he looked around. Something's already different, he said quietly, and Naruto frowned. What do you mean? And Sasuke didn't answer immediately, instead focusing, sensing, analyzing, the chakra flow. He said finally, it's not the same. Sakura looked around as well, trying to feel it. And then her expression changed slightly. It's unstable, she said. And Naruto's eyes sharpened instantly, because that shouldn't be happening, not this early, not in this timeline, so we already changed something, he muttered, and Sasuke's gaze hardened. Or something noticed us, and that possibility sent a chill through all three of them, because if something had already detected their return, then they weren't just ahead of the timeline, they were already part of a new one. And Naruto looked toward the horizon, his expression serious. Then we move faster, he said, and Sasuke smirked slightly. Now you're thinking properly. Sakura took a deep breath. steadying herself. Then we start with the basics, she said. Training, information, preparation. Naruto nodded, and this time, his voice lowered slightly. We don't lose anyone, but deep in the shadows beyond the village, something stirred, something that hadn't existed in their previous timeline at this point, something watching, observing, adapting, so they've returned earlier than expected. A voice whispered from the darkness, calm, calculating, this will be interesting. And the YND passed quietly through Konoha, carrying with it a subtle change that no one else could feel, because the moment Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura came back with their future memories, the world had already begun to shift, and this time, the future wasn't just unknown. It was completely different. The wind moved softly across the training ground, but none of them paid attention to it anymore, because something had already changed, something subtle but dangerous, and Naruto Uzumaki stood there with his arms crossed, his usual carefree posture now replaced with focus and urgency. We don't have the luxury to move slowly, he said, his voice steady but firm, and Sasuke Uchiha nodded slightly, his Sharingan flickering for a brief moment as if trying to read something invisible in the air. We've already altered something, he replied, which means the future we remember is no longer guaranteed, and that realization settled heavily between them, because their biggest advantage, their memories, might already be unreliable. And Sakura Haruno stepped forward, her voice calmer but filled with quiet determination. Then we adapt, she said. We don't follow the old timeline. We control the new one. Naruto smirked slightly at that. Now that sounds like us, but his expression quickly turned serious again, because deep inside, he could feel it. That same presence from their final battle, faint, distant, but still there, like something that had followed them back. We start with strength, Naruto said. If we're going to face that thing again, we need to be ready way earlier. Sasuke didn't argue. Then we skip the basics, he said. No academy level training, we go straight to war level preparation. Sakura nodded, already thinking ahead. That means chakra control, medical training, and coordination. We can't afford mistakes this time. Naruto clenched his fist slightly. And we don't wait for enemies to appear, he added, we hunt information first. But just as they began planning, the air shifted again, not violently, not like an attack, but enough for all three of them to feel it instantly, their bodies tensing as their eyes snapped toward the same direction at the exact same time. You felt that too, right? Naruto asked. And Sasuke's gaze sharpened. Yeah, he replied, that's not normal chakra. Sakura's expression tightened slightly. It's similar, she whispered, to that thing, and silence followed, because that meant one terrifying possibility. The enemy they faced in the future was already connected to this timeline, far earlier than they expected. Naruto's eyes hardened. Then we're already late, he said quietly. And without wasting another second, he stepped forward. We find it. Sasuke moved beside him instantly. Agreed, and Sakura followed right behind them. Let's go. And the three of them moved together, faster than any normal genin, their movements sharp, precise, controlled, not like children, but like experienced siege shinobi, heading straight toward the source of that disturbance, deeper into the forest beyond Konoha. And as they moved, Naruto's mind kept racing, because this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. This wasn't part of the timeline they remembered, which meant one thing. The moment they returned, something else had changed with them, something that had triggered a chain reaction, and as they reached a clearing deep within the forest, they stopped abruptly, their eyes widening slightly as they saw it, the space in front of them, distorted, like reality itself bending unnaturally. A faint PPLE moving through the air as if something was trying to break through from the other side. So it's already starting? Sasuke muttered, his voice low but sharp. Naruto stepped forward slightly, his expression serious. This wasn't here before, he said, and Sakura nodded. Which means this time line is already ahead of ours in some ways, and just as Naruto was about to move closer, the distortion pulsed, stronger this time, and from within it, something moved, not fully visible, not fully formed, but enough to make all three of them freeze instinctively, because even in that incomplete street 8, they could feel it. That same overwhelming presence from the future, that same unknown enemy they couldn't defeat. Number way, Naruto whispered, his fists clenching tightly. It's already here, and the distortion pulsed again, the shape within it becoming slightly clearer for a brief second or fading back, as if it wasn't fully able to cross over yet, and Sasuke's eyes narrowed sharply. It's not complete, he said. It's trying to enter this timeline. Sakura stepped slightly closer, analyzing it. Which means we still have time, she said, and Naruto's expression shifted instantly. Why? Determination replacing shock. Then we stop it now, he said firmly, because this was their chance, their only chance to prevent what they had already seen happen, and this time, they weren't going to fail, not again, not when they had the knowledge, the experience, and the resolve to change everything. But deep within that distortion, something stirred, reacting to their presence, reacting to their decision, and a faint voice echoed, barely audible but enough to send a chill down their spines. So you remember? And the moment those words reached them, all three of them understood. This wasn't just a future threat anymore, it was aware of them, aware of their return, and this time, the battle wasn't waiting in the future, it had already begun. The distortion pulsed again, heavier this time, like something on the other side had fully noticed them, and Naruto Uzumaki stepped forward. Instinctively, his chakra flaring just enough to stabilize his stance, his eyes locked onto the rippling space ahead. It knows us, he said quietly, not in fear, but in realization, while Sasuke Uchiha narrowed his gaze, his Sharingan fully activated now, scanning every fluctuation in the distortee. Trying to read something that didn't follow normal rules. It's not just aware, Sasuke replied, it's reacting, and Sakura Haruno stepped slightly to the side, her mind already analyzing patterns, timing, energy flow. Then this isn't a random event, she said. It's connected to us return. And that thought alone shifted everything, because it meant their attempt to fix the future may have accelerated it instead. Naruto clenched his fist slightly. Then we don't let it fully come through, he said, his voice firm, and without waiting, he formed a hand sign. Shadow clones a parry. NG around him instantly, surrounding the distortion, not to attack blindly, but to contain, to observe, to control the space before it could expand further. Sasuke moved at the same time, positioning himself opposite Naruto, his eyes tracking every movement of the ripple. We hit it the moment it stabilizes, he said, while Sakura took position behind them, ready, her focus sharp, and I'll monitor the energy shift. If it spikes, we pull back immediately, and for a brief moment, everything aligned perfectly, their teamwork already far beyond what it should have been at this age, their NTS synchronized not by practice, but by memory, by experience, by battles they had already fought together, and then, the distortion reacted, violently this time, expanding suddenly as a wave of pressure pushed outward, destroying Naruto's outer clones instantly, forcing all three of them to step back as the air cracked around them. TCH. Naruto slid back slightly, stabilizing himself. It's getting stronger, and Sasuke's expression hardened. It's adapting to our presence. Sakura's eyes widened slightly as she felt the change. It's feeding off it, she corrected. And that realization hit instantly. This thing wasn't just reacting, it was growing stronger the more they engaged with it, just like in the future. Naruto's jaw tightened. Then we can't fight it head on yet, he said, and Sasuke nodded immediately. We seal it, he replied, and Sakura quickly added, but we do. ain't have the resources for a full seal yet. And that was the problem, because while they had memories of the future, the current bodies, the current abilities, were still limited, they didn't yet have the full strength they once did. Naruto exhaled slowly, forcing himself to think. Not rush. Then we weaken it first, he said, and Sasuke glanced at him. How? And Naruto's eyes sharpened slightly. We disrupt the connection, he replied, pointing toward the center of the distortion. It's not fully here yet, which means something is anchoring it. Sakura's expression changed as she understood instantly. If we break that link, it won't be able to stabilize, she said, and Sasuke smirked faintly. Now that makes sense. And without another word, all three moved at once, Naruto creating clones again, but this time sending them directly into the edges of the distortion. Not attack King the core, but striking the unstable points around it, while Sasuke dashed forward, his movements precise, targeting the exact moment the distortion pulsed, his strikes aimed not at the entity itself, but at the fluctuations holding it together, and Sakura focused entirely on timing, calling out shifts. Now, left side. And Naruto's clones reacted instantly, hitting the weak point she identified, causing the distortion to flicker violently. Again, right side. And Sasuke moved in perfect sync, his attack landing exactly where needed, the ripple destabilizing further, and for a moment, it worked, the distortion shrinking slightly, its form becoming unstable, the presence inside it flickering like it was losing its hold, but then, it reacted, a deep pulse of energy bursting outward, stronger than before, knocking all three of them back several meters, Naruto hitting the ground hard before flipping back to his feet. That's new, he muttered, his breathing slightly heavier now, Sasuke skidding back as well, his expression darker, it's resisting more aggressively, and Sakura steadied herself, her eyes still locked on the distortion. Because we're getting closer, she said. ND that meant they were on the right track, but also in greater danger, and Naruto stepped forward again, his eyes unwavering. Then we don't stop now, he said firmly, because this was their chance, their one chance to prevent what they had already lived through, and Sasuke didn't argue, stepping beside him. We finish this before it adapts again. Sakura nodded, moving into position once more. One more coordinated strike, she said. We hit all weak points at once. Naruto smirked slightly. Now that sounds like a plan. And as they prepared, the distortion pulsed again, but this time, instead of expanding, it focused inward, as if the entity inside had realized something, understood something, and a faint voice echoed again, clearer this time, more aware. You try to stop what has already begun, and Naruto's eyes hardened instantly. Then we'll just begin earlier, he replied. His voice filled with determination, and in the next moment, all three of them moved together, perfectly synchronized, striking the distortion from multiple points at the exact same time, the air cracking violently as the ripple destabilized completely, collapsing inward as the connection broke, the presence inside fading rapidly, unable to fully cross over, until finally, silence, the distortion vanished, the space returning to normal, the forest still again, and for a few seconds, none of them moved, just breathing, just processing, and then Naruto exhaled slowly. Did we stop it? He asked, and Sakura looked around carefully, sensing the area. For now, she said, while Sasuke kept his gaze forward, his expression still serious. Number, he corrected. We delayed it. And that truth settled heavily between them, because while they had succeeded in stopping it from entering completely, it wasn't gone, not permanently, and Naruto clenched his fist slightly, his eyes filled with resolve. Then next time, he said quietly, we don't just delay it, because now they knew. The future wasn't waiting anymore, it was already chasing them, and this time, they had to be ready before it caught up. The forest settled into an uneasy calm, but none of them believed it was truly over, because the moment the distortion disappeared, Naruto Uzumaki could still feel a faint residue in the air, like something had been forcefully pushed back but not erased, and he slowly unclenched his fist, exhaling through his teeth. Yeah, that thing isn't gone, he muttered, while Sasuke Uchiha kept his Sharingan active, scanning the area one last time before it slowly deactivated. It retreated, Sasuke said calmly, which means it learned something, and that statement alone made the situation heavier, because an enemy that adapts is far more dangerous than one that simply attacks. And Sakura Haruno stepped forward slightly, her brows furrowed in thought. Then we need to move faster than it does, she said, because if it gets stronger at this stage. She didn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. They all remembered what it became in the future. Naruto looked toward the sky for a moment, then back at both of them, his expression steady but intense. Then we change everything from here on, he said, and Sasuke gave a slight nod, agreed, before adding, we don't follow the old path anymore. Sakura crossed her arms slightly, thinking ahead. Then our priorities change too, she said. We don't wait for events like the Chunin exams, Orochimaru, or Akatsuki to unfold naturally. We get ahead of them. Naruto smirked slightly. Hey, we're basically running the future, but his tone quickly returned to seriousness. First target, information, he said. We need to know what that thing actually is. Sasuke glanced toward the direction where the distortion had been, and where it originates from, he added, and Sakura nodded. Which means we need access to records, forbidden archives, anything the village has hidden. Naruto scratched the back of his head slightly. Yeah, that might be a problem, but Sasuke's expression didn't change. Then we don't ask, he said simply, and Naruto grinned faintly at that. Now that's the Sasuke I remember. But before they could plan further, the air shifted again, not like before, not violent or distorted, but subtle, almost unnoticeable. Yet all three of them felt it instantly, their bodies tensing as their eyes snapped toward the same direction once again. It's still here, Naruto sighed quietly, and Sakura shook her head slightly. This is different, while Sasuke narrowed his gaze, focusing. It's watching, he said, and that word changed everything, because it meant the entity wasn't just reacting anymore, it was observing, learning, waiting, and Naruto's expression hardened instantly. Then let it watch, he said, stepping forward slightly, his presence steady, because next time, we won't hold back. And for a brief moment, the forest went completely still, as if something had heard him, acknowledged him, before that faint presence slowly faded away, disappearing completely this time. And Sakura exhaled softly. It's gone, for now, she said, and Sasuke turned away slightly. Then we use that time wisely, he replied, already thinking ahead, already planning their next moves. And Naruto looked at both of them, his usual determination returning, but this me sharper, heavier, more experienced. All right, he said, from this point on, we don't act like kids anymore. And both Sasuke and Sakura nodded without hesitation, because they weren't kids anymore. Not really, not with everything they remembered, everything they had seen, everything they had listened. And as they began walking back toward the village, side by side, their pace steady, their minds focused, the future ahead of them no longer felt like a fixed path, but a battlefield waiting to be rewritten, and far beyond their sight, hidden in a place where time itself felt thinner. That same recent stirred again, faint but aware. They interfered sooner than expected. It echoed softly, its form still incomplete, still forming, but it changes nothing. A pause followed, cold and certain. All timelines lead to the same end. And as the wind passed through the trees, carrying that unseen whisper away, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a second chance anymore. It was a race between those who remembered the future, and something that existed beyond it. The path back to the village felt different. Not because the road had changed, but because they had. Naruto Uzumaki walked ahead, his steps steady, his eyes no longer filled with childish excitement but with something far heavier, responsibility. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha remained silent, his gaze sharp, already planning moves ahead of time, ca. Calculating outcomes that hadn't even happened yet. And slightly behind them, Sakura Haruno walked with quiet determination, her fear gone, replaced by clarity. They weren't the same Team 7 anymore. They had seen the future, lived it, lost in it, and now, they had come back. Naruto stopped walking. The others paused too. From here on, Naruto said slowly, his voice calm but firm, we don't follow the old story. Sasuke smirked faintly. We write a new one. Sakura nodded. One where we don't lose. Silence followed. But it wasn't empty. It was filled with resolve. Because all three of them knew what was coming. War, pain, loss, and that unknown enemy, waiting at the end of everything. Naruto clenched his fist. We'll stop it before it even begins. The wind passed gently. The village stood peaceful in the distance. Unaware, because no one else knew, that the future had already changed. That time itself had shifted. And that three people had returned to rewrite everything. But far beyond the village, in a place untouched by normal reality, that same presence stirred again. They resist. A faint voice echoed. Cold, patient, unavoidable. But resistance only delays the inevitable. Its form